Hey guys, Buffer Game back today, bringing another video for our Warzone weapon series, and today we're going to be covering the AN-94 Abaka out of Russia. So this is a very unique weapon that I wanted to utilize in Warzone once again. I used it a lot when it first came out, and I thought it was a very good rifle. And right now with the current meta being really burst weapons, mainly the AUG and the M16 from Cold War, paired with the FFAR, I wanted to go back and take this out again because it is one of the few burst weapons that we have from Modern Warfare that are deemed really effective. The FR556, I believe, being the only other, which is very ineffective. But the AN-94, I think, fills a very specific niche. It does a few things very well and does a lot of things pretty bad. But if you can utilize it in that one space, it actually does a lot of damage within 30 meters, and it's somewhat competitive with the current meta being the AUG and the AN and the M16. But as you'll see in the gameplay, and we'll compare it, if you just have gotten killed by AUGs, you'll notice the recoil difference between the AN-94 and the AUG, which has very little recoil, being the AUG and the M16, little to none, and then the AN-94 is definitely a very complicated weapon. I would say this is probably one of the most skillful weapons in Warzone. Now, the AN-94 in Warzone, if you're inside of 21 meters, 21.8 meters, you're going to be dealing 46 damage to the head, 34 to the chest, and then 31 to the stomach, and 31 to extremities. Outside of that 28 meter mark, your damage is going to drop off to 38 to the head, 28 to the chest, 26 to the stomach, and 24 to the extremities. Very unique weapon. Like I said, hyperburst. With this weapon, you're going to be firing around 1,800 rounds per minute if you utilize the hyperburst only, and then you're going to drop down to 680 rounds per minute with the base full auto with this weapon after the hyperburst is already completed. So we'll go ahead now, and what I'll do is we'll jump out and take a look at this weapon. However, the weapon itself, there's a lot of different ways you can use this, I would say. You can use it in a bunch of specific ways with the underbarrel grips, which we'll go over here in a minute. So let's go ahead and back out, and here is our final design for our AN-94 Abaka. And you can see here, definitely a different type of build than you're used to seeing in other people's videos. Definitely very different from the first build I did, which utilized, I believe, a Ranger foregrip or a Merc, and then I utilized the 60-round casket mag, or the 30-round for solos, and then I used that thermal optic that comes uniquely with this weapon. So we'll back out. What I'll do is strip this thing down to base. I'll take the camo off this, and we'll start building this thing from scratch. So here's our base AN-94 Abaka from Season 5 of Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And what we'll do is, first off, with the muzzle attacher, you can see we have a nice base muzzle brake there, which I wish were present on the AK-47s. But we'll go ahead for the muzzle device. We're going to put on the monolithic suppressor. Going to give us the sound suppression and the damage range. The cons are going to be the aim down sight speed and the aim walking steadiness. And also, with the suppressor, you'll stay off the minimap. So best suppressor you can get in the slot, you're going to go ahead and want that. For the barrel option, we're going to go with the AN-94 Factory X 438mm barrel. So it's going to be the longest barrel available for the AN-94 Abaka. It's going to increase our damage at range, our bullet velocity, and the recoil control for this weapon. Cons are going to be the aim down sight speed and the movement speed. So we'll go ahead and select that. Next up, we'll skip the laser, and for the optic, the go-to that a lot of folks use are going to be the VLK optic, which is a really good one for this weapon, especially being a Russian optic. It works really well with this Russian weapon. However, I bounced back and forth between a lot of different optics for this, and I ended up settling with the 4x flip, which is one that I believed I liked the most, just because you get that increased zoom level at 4x versus the 3x or 3.25 with some of the other dual optics. So this one, you're going to have a 4x along with the flip side. You can mount that down to get the base EOTech. You'll get the 1.5x optic, I believe, there with the base EOTech red dot. Cons are going to be the ADS speed for this weapon, so we'll go ahead and select the 4x flip. We'll skip out on the stock and the perk as well as the rear grip, and then we're going to go ahead and do the ammunition. Now, most people with this one would actually go for a 60-round casket mag, which is that quad stack of the 5.45 by 39mm. I'm actually going to go with the 45-round magazine, because with this weapon, what you're going to do with the magazine conversions here, the 45 round is that you're actually going to save 2% on your movement speed overall versus the 60 round casket mag. So we'll go ahead and put that on. Also, I find with this weapon, I really only need 45 rounds. 60 rounds is a little bit too much, especially with how I'm running this with an AS Val. I don't want to consume too much ammo in one magazine. So save a little bit of movement speed there, being 2%. We'll go ahead and put on the 45 round magazine of the 5.45 by 39mm. So you can see we're going to increase our capacity by 15 bullets, as well as the cons being the ADS speed and the movement speed. So we'll go ahead and select that. Then for the underbarrel, this is where it gets interesting. The Commando foregrip is the one you're going to see me mainly utilize in the win that we'll walk through here. But I really have gone between the Commando and the Merc mainly. The Ranger is alright, however, you don't get any horizontal recoil control. This is primarily only vertical. So the Merc foregrip is going to give you the best recoil control overall with 17% reduction to vertical and horizontal. And then the Commando foregrip is going to give you vertical recoil control of 11% decrease and 20 for horizontal. So honestly, you're better off with the Merc foregrip, especially I was playing around a lot with the hyperburst. If you're going to be tap firing this and utilizing the hyperburst, this is going to keep you on target much better than any other optic, or excuse me, underbarrel attachment here. Now the Commando foregrip is a really good one just because you don't have an ADS penalty, which is why we're going with it here, and you'll see this. But again, I really prefer kind of the Merc foregrip just for how I utilize this weapon. You're going to want to tap fire this for the most part, and I'll go over how you want to use this. But for the purpose of this video, we'll use the Commando foregrip. If you're going to be going like a tap fire into full auto, you can definitely use it effectively the way it's intended to be used. However, I find if you're going to strictly use the burst fire, the hyper burst, the Merc foregrip seems to be the better option for me personally. But the Commando foregrip, again, recoil stabilization and aim and stability. You're not taking any hits to the ADS movement, which is a good, or the ADS speed, which is a really good pro here. The only con is going to be the movement speed for this, which again is only I believe it's going to be only a 2% movement speed. So you don't need to worry about that. It's compared to the Merc foregrip, which is much worse, I believe. I think it's I don't even know what the percentage is. But we'll go with the Commando foregrip. Going to be your best option there in slot, I believe, for how you want to use this. You can definitely get away with using this. Now for the customization option, we're going to go with the camo. Going to go with the woodland camo, and I've really been using the kill brush camouflage here, paired with the protectorate bale. Seems to be a really good option here. We'll go ahead and select that. And then what we'll do for the reticle, we're going to go ahead and go with the Apothis reticle. So this is going to give us a nice clean reticle sight for our engagements with the burst, as well as full auto when we need to go for that. So we'll go ahead and select this, and we're going to pair this. This is our final AN-94. You'll see I'm running this in the gameplay. I think you're going to see me running it with a few different sidearms, but I'm running it with the operator being protectorate bale here. I feel like that kill brush camouflage goes really well with the operator. You can see there, it just matches up really nicely. And again, Russian FSB operator, Spetsnaz with the AN-94 looks very nice. So get into the weapon here again really quick before we jump into the gameplay with the AN-94. How you want to use this is, in my opinion, is 2 quick bursts, and then on the second burst you want to hold full auto. Is the best way to do this. If you're going to hit those bursts, you'll down the opponent very quickly. I've played around with trying 1 burst to full auto, only burst firing. The fastest way to down your opponent is going to be 2 quick bursts, and on the second burst, hold down the fire to go full auto, and you'll down opponents very quickly. Even at the different ranges, I think you can get away with it because the hyper burst is pretty accurate out of different ranges, and especially within that 30-meter range, you're going to down people very quickly. It's a very fast TTK inside those zones. So let's go ahead now, and we'll jump into the gameplay. I'm going to walk you through this trio win we actually had here. You'll see some of the gameplay you saw on screen previously, but this is going to be a trio win. I'll walk you through some of the pros and cons of using this weapon, some things I did wrong too, and some of the engagements. So let's go ahead and jump. Okay, so starting off here, we dropped in over a restaurant, and we had already gotten our loadouts. I think we did a quick scavenger, and we have a recon active right now, and this guy picked up a king, so I'm just going to chase him down. And right there you can see I just burst fired him. You hear him utilizing the Commando foregrip. I'm running the VLK here, but as you saw in the previous footage, I was running the 4x flip a lot. This is an earlier win that I had gotten, and I was still utilizing the VLK. However, I really do prefer the 4x because shots like this, it's much easier to get the shots on target versus the VLK. You can see it's very hard to see still. I need that extra zoom magnification to really utilize the burst fire effectively at these kinds of ranges, especially if you're going to try and compete with the current meta being like an AUG or even an M16. You really want to take advantage of that burst. And also the Cold War optics, even though they say 3x, they seem to be more zoomed in than the VLK here, which is the only 3x optic we have in Modern Warfare. But again, there you can see, utilizing the burst fire, able to get that guy down, and you can really, ideally, like I said, you want to do 2 bursts, and on the second burst, hold full auto. So tap, you can keep it on full auto, and you can tap twice and hold down the second time, and then that's going to give you the 2 bursts with that hyper burst at 1800 rounds per minute. And then finish him off with a full auto if you need to. And here, you can see, we chased his team down. I killed one there, and then they ended up team wiping those guys pretty easily just by pushing. So here, fast forward again. And you'll see here, I'm running the ISO here, so this is one of the earlier gameplays I was using, but as you saw in the gameplay previously, I was still running the Val as a secondary. I feel is just a better option. A little bit more reliable, but here this truck pulls up. We managed to get downtown and hold up on this building pretty well, and this truck came in from fire downtown here to the right, and they actually got in there. They dropped an airstrike on us, and we took some cover, and then we needed to move here, so Rylan and Dill ended up moving. Here's this team coming out into the riverbed. So here is a good example of really where I think a Merc foregrip and the 4x slip would have been better options, probably because I would have the extra zoom magnification to land these shots a little bit cleaner, and the horizontal and vertical recoil control of the Merc foregrip would just be a little bit more efficient there. Especially here, you can see I'm getting a lot of hits holding full auto, but the zoom magnification and the recoil control of the Merc just would be a little bit better. And that Merc foregrip goes for all the AK, basically any Russian weapon. The AK-47 with the 5.45 with the 7.62, you also need a Merc foregrip for some reason. So it seems to hold true with the AN-94. The Merc foregrip gives you the best recoil control with a lot of the Russian weapons. So here again, you can see spot this guy. I'm able to do a lot of damage, and then Rylan ends up cleaning him up.
That guy's gonna have to jump.
So like I said, we were able to parachute over here underneath hospital. This is pretty key because we didn't want to get to the roof, and you can see that guy just peeked me so quick, and I was able, again, to burst and hold the second burst, and he's down almost instantly. It's a very, very fast TTK within that 30-meter range. So here we are, only 2 teams remaining at this point, and it looks like 2 full teams and a solo. And what we're doing, we're holding this roof. We have a really good circle position here. Really, it seems like we know there's a team on Warehouse, which is to my right now. You're going to see us take shots at them really soon here. So here's one dude able to down and kill him, and that was actually, I think that was the last guy of the full team. So now there's only still 2 other teams left. They run over, so what I'm going to do is reposition. Rylan's going to use his self, and here I'm on the roof. So now it's 2 teams, 1 guy left, and here he is. You can see now again in that kind of situation, I take out the ISO just because close quarters engagements. I'm not going to risk losing the match of the AN-94, but you can see. The ISO definitely underrated, but the AN-94, great weapon. Again, you really just want to tap fire that 2 bursts and hold down the second. This is a really underrated weapon. However, the problem is it really doesn't hold a candle to the AUG or the M16. Those weapons are clearly broken with their recoil as well as their headshot multiplier. Make them far superior to the AN-94. But I really want to go back and use this because in my mind, it is the best burst weapon of the modern warfare weapons, and it serves a very specific niche. And again, it's a high skill gap to use this efficiently to how it really needs to be used, and 2 bursting and holding the second burst seems to be the best way to do that. But again, it's not an easy weapon to use. If you get stuck holding down full auto too soon, your damage is gonna drop off too quick because of the slow rate of fire and the smaller caliber of 5.45. But let me know down below what you guys think of this. This is the AN-94 Abacon for Warzone, a pretty unique build here. Really enjoyed playing with this, and again, definitely a lot of fun. I would check it out. Till next time, this is Buffner Gaming out.